got Bill Skarsgård, who's going to play Count Orlok. I mean, he's halfway there. I'm like, you don't really need to add much makeup. It's like, I guess give him some pointy ears and maybe some sharper teeth, but yeah, there you go. That's him. He's Nosferatu. And he got Willem Dafoe. Hard! He got Willem Dafoe as a crazed vampire hunter trying to find Count Orlok and most likely just murdering a lot of innocent people. I cannot wait. Back to formula. I cannot wait, chat, to see Willem Dafoe hunting vampires, losing his goddamn mind. I love this Robert Eggers Willem Dafoe relationship. I'm so glad that those two found each other, because now, chat, no matter what, we're always gonna get Dafoe is definitely known for a lot of his crazy roles, no doubt about that. But he does like a lot more serious work where he's a little more relaxed. But I do love me some crazy Dafoe, chat, as you all know, especially the Goblin and all that. Oh, misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen. I offer you friendship, and you spat in my face. I love stuff like that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the first part of this New Year's Eve stream. And I'm going to talk about my most anticipated movies of 2024. Hoping, fingers crossed, that these movies will be good. And if you've already listened to, if you haven't already, but if you haven't checked out Discord Discourse, I already kind of talk about some of my most anticipated movies of 2024. So feel free to check that out. But let's go ahead and get to those movies, chat. And one of the films, probably the one I'm anticipating the most in terms of a genre movie, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which it is a sequel to the original Planet of the Apes trilogy directed by Rupert Wyatt and Matt Reeves. It's set like 300 years after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes, where ape civilization has emerged as the dominant civilization of the planet, the most powerful kingdom being the oasis that Caesar led his fellow apes to. And we are, I guess, one of the characters that we're going to be following is like the great grandson of Caesar, Proximus Caesar, who has perverted the teachings of Caesar, chat. And we're introduced to this ape named Noah, who embarks on this journey alongside a fellow human, and to determine both the future of humans and apes. So I can't wait for that. It's not Matt Reeves again. It's directed by Wes Ball, who is probably best known for directing those Maze Runner movies. I remember watching the first one. I quite liked the first one a bit. So I'm hoping for the best for that movie, chat. But it looks good. I thought it had a very, very good trailer. A movie that I only learned about, yesterday, from several people who had it on their most anticipated list during the Discord Discourse, is Mickey 17, chat, which is Bong Joon-ho's next movie. It's a sci-fi thriller. And, of course, Bong Joon-ho was the director of Parasite and many other great films. And it stars Robert Pattinson, who is the titular Mickey, chat. And he's like this space traveler who's basically sent on this very dangerous mission, this colonization mission to this like ice world. And what happens is every time like he dies, he's cloned with the memories of that person before him. And I think it also is going to be starring Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette. But the whole concept, I think, sounds really, really cool to me. So thank you so much for the several people that put that on my radar yesterday. And then moving on, we get to some animation, chat. I love animation. Inside Out 2. Now, I really enjoy Inside Out a lot. It's not like my favorite Pixar movie, but I still think it's great. Just love the concept of, hey, what if your emotions had little personalities and they controlled every aspect of your brain, right? I think that's really cool, and we saw that realized in such a great way, in such an emotional way. And I think everyone was saying like, well, this would make for a perfect sequel, especially like as he followed this, the last film, this young girl Riley, as she's going through puberty and she's becoming a teenager. Like, we're going to introduce probably new emotions, and that's what they're going to be doing in this upcoming film. I think we were in the teaser trailer. we were introduced to one of those new emotions, which is anxiety, which I'm like, I'm familiar with you, anxiety, voiced by Maya Hawke. So can't wait for that. I mean, Pixar, they are not, the Pixar of old. They are hit or miss now. And so, but at the same time, I think this is probably going to be a winner. It looks pretty good. I think we were all yearning for a sequel. We're like, oh yeah, sequel to Inside Out, that feels right. So looking forward to that. Next one, chat, Godzilla X Kong Wakanda Forever, also known as AKA the new Empire. Of course, in this film, Godzilla and King, no longer enemies, chat. Godzilla and King Kong, no longer enemies. They bonded over their battle of Mechagodzilla in the last movie. And they're doing their own things right now, but apparently there's a giant kaiju orangutan with a whole bunch of other Kongs just messing with them. And that's causing a huge issue, and so it looks like Kong and Godzilla, who now is his pink makeup now. He has pink extensions at this point, I guess you could say. They got to team up and they got to take down this orangutan kaiju, and I imagine other monsters as well. Now listen, the MonsterVerse, I think, again, has kind of been hit and miss. I'm not a big fan of Godzilla 2014 or of Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I really enjoyed Kong Skull Island, which I think is the best of those films so far, and Godzilla versus Kong. I thought it was pretty fun. Now without their flaws, of course, which I've talked about in great detail, but I like those movies. And so I'm hoping that Godzilla X Kong Wakanda Forever, the new Empire, will lean more towards that category. It looks like it is. It's the same director. It's Adam Wingard, who's directing Godzilla X Kong. Of course, he previously did Godzilla vs. Kong. So I'm like, that's pretty good. He's got his boy Dan Stevens. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So, at the very least, I'm not asking for the most profound character death. Just make the characters super fun and likable. It's like, okay, I like actually being with them. I don't resent being with them, and so we can just let's get back to the monsters already. So I am hoping that they'll lean more in that direction. Have some fun characters, but have plenty of goofy monster battles. But the next film on my list that I am really, really looking forward to is A Quiet Place Day One. Now, this is not the sequel to A Quiet Place Part 1 and Part 2. This isn't the third chapter in that specific story, but it is set in the universe of John Krasinski's Quiet Place, chat. And it's going to be directed by Michael Sarnowski, which you might not recognize the name, but you might be more familiar with his work. He directed one of my favorite movies from last couple of years. I believe it came out in 2021, but he directed Pig with Nicolas Cage, and that's the movie where everyone thought it was going to be Nicolas Cage's John Wick, but wasn't, but was still an amazing movie, still really good. It's really more just about how people handle grief and come to terms with loss, but then it's also about a man's career and this obsession and how he wished he didn't focus on that so much because of certain aspects in his life, and it's a beautiful movie. And I really liked it a lot. I think it's one of the Nicolas Cage's best performances of his career, and I think he should have gotten award attention for that, but he was ignored, which was sad. But other people clearly recognize how great that movie was, and he's going to be directing it, which I imagine is going to take place on day one, of that that alien invasion, where he had all those giant fucking stick bugs come down, just start smacking people and ripping them apart. So. I'm always like, I'm a little nervous anytime you're going to try to make a huge franchise out of this really well-told horror story. But they got talent. It's being co-written by John Krasinski and also written by Sarnowski, who proved himself. So it's got a lot on the positive side. So I'm going to give it a chance. Very much looking forward to this movie. Moving on from that. Another kind of sci-fi film, chat. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, which George Miller, the creator, the director of Mad Max, is returning to direct this spin-off film set in his universe. And it follows a young Furiosa, not played by Charlize Theron, but played by Anya Taylor-Joy, as she interacts with many of the characters that we saw in Fury Road, but also comes face-to-face with, I guess, a new villain, chat, the Biker Horde, led by Warlord Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. Now, I'm a big Mad Max fan. I've really enjoyed all the movies, and I was also a huge fan of Mad Max Fury Road back in 2015, one of my favorite movies that year. And it did so many things right. However, the one thing I would critique it is it's like, well, it's clearly not really about Mad Max. It's about Furiosa, who I don't mind at all, actually. I think she's a fantastic character. It's just that Mad Max is the weakest element in that movie. Tom Hardy doesn't say anything for the first hour, and I don't think he was like a particularly great Mad Max in my opinion. But I really like the character Furiosa, so I can kind of see that's where George Miller's mind's at, is his heart's at, is with this character. So I'm looking forward to this movie. I would have preferred like a sequel following Charlize Theron's character, but I don't know. I think George Miller's just working relationship with Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy was just so terrible and just dissolved. He's like, I want to work with someone else. So I can understand that, even though we kind of already know what's going to happen with that character, but not all the other characters that are around, or at least many of them. So I'm looking forward to it. This might be the last Mad Max movie from George Miller. Not wishing any ill on the man. It's just that, he's in his 80s now, 81, 82, probably this year. So might be one of his last films. So I'm very much looking forward to this one too. After that, chat, there's not that much superhero fare next year. Well, there actually is a lot of superhero fare, but there's only a couple films in the superhero genre I'm looking forward to. But probably my most anticipated superhero movie of 2024 is Deadpool 3, or just untitled Deadpool sequel. Of course, this is the third chapter in the Deadpool series, starring Ryan Reynolds as the Merc with the Mouth, Wade Wilson, Deadpool. Loved the original movie, thought it was just so great. It was wonderful to finally see that character fully realized, and Ryan Reynolds played, that version of the character after he was struggled, with the terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine. Not his fault, but man, but I'm so glad they were able to make fun of that. And I love the movie. One of the best superhero movies of the 2010s. And one of my favorite superhero films of all time, probably. I like Deadpool 2. I didn't think it was as good as the first one. Has a lot of great things in it, but some stuff didn't work for me. Plus, I had a really bad theater experience that colored that movie for me, for all time. Just sat next to the two most obnoxious people, just burping and farting and talking themselves and talking at the screen, and I guess the boyfriend, the husband, chat. There was this white guy with these giant fucking blonde dreadlocks, and they smelled so bad because he wasn't washing them or probably perfuming them or doing anything that you probably need to do with dreadlocks, chat. And I just remember that whiff, just constant, it's like this staleness, this staleness in the air, just that would never leave, that just penetrated my nose. It was like, oh my God, it's horrible. And so anytime I think of Deadpool 2, I think of that memory. However, I am interested in Deadpool 3. He's crossing over to the MCU, which it's going to be a lot of fun. He gets to make fun of all those characters and things. But he's also partnering with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, probably returning for the last time. Well, maybe. I think he's going to be in those Avengers movies. But returning again as Wolverine in the proper costume, everything. And I think it's probably going to be like a loose adaptation of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. It'll be Deadpool Kills the Fox Universe. So can't wait for that. Super, super excited. And then after that, chat, this one surprises me. You know what? I'm actually looking forward to it. And it's Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which, of course, is the next chapter in the Sonic the Hedgehog saga now, adapted by the sake of video games. Now, you guys know I have a complicated relationship with Sonic, chat. I'm not the biggest fan of his games. I would argue that he really hasn't any good games. But I have enjoyed the movies. And I actually enjoyed some of the animated adaptations, too. And the first film I liked, and the second film I probably liked even better, especially Jim Carrey's performance as Dr. Robotnik. I think he's been the absolute best thing about those movies. But, of course, the third one, Shadow the Hedgehog is going to debut, Chad. He was teased the end of the original the second film, and now they're probably going to bring him in as the villain, hopefully for Robotnik by his side. So I am looking forward to that. I want to see this. I'm hoping the series keeps getting better. They had some strangely but very nice, heartwarming moments in that sequel, chat, that ordinarily just wouldn't work at all. You had James Marsden, and you had Tika Sumpter, who was gorgeous in that movie, and they had a moment where everyone's gonna die, and Sonic's about to die, and they're like, we gotta save our son. We gotta go save our fucking son. Sonic the Hedgehog is their son, and normally that would this would not work, but the way she sold that fucking line, I believed it. I believe Sonic the Hedgehog was their son. So I was like, all right, let's fucking go. So I'm looking forward to that movie. And after that, chat, probably my most anticipated movie of next year, and that is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. And for those that don't know, Robert Eggers is probably one of my favorite working directors right now. He's director of The Witch. He's director of Lighthouse, my favorite film of his, and he's director of Northman, one of my favorite movies of last year that was wrongly ignored by so many people, but I really like the movie quite a bit. and now he's doing a remake. I guess technically it's the second remake of the original 1922 German expressionist film Nosferatu, which was an unauthorized and unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's original Dracula novel. And it's got a hell of a goddamn cast. They got Bill Skarsgård, who's going to play Count Orlok. I mean, he's halfway there. I'm like, you don't really need to add much makeup. It's like, I guess give him some pointy ears and maybe some sharper teeth. But yeah, there you go. That's him. He's Nosferatu. And he got Willem Dafoe. He got Willem Dafoe as a crazed vampire hunter trying to find Count Orlok and most likely just murdering a lot of innocent people. I cannot wait. Back to formula. I cannot wait, chat, to see Willem Dafoe hunting vampires, losing his goddamn mind. I love this Robert Eggers Willem Dafoe relationship. I'm so glad that those two found each other, because now, chat, no matter what, we're always gonna get Dafoe is definitely known for a lot of his crazy roles, no doubt about that. But he does like a lot more serious work where he's a little more relaxed. But I do love me some crazy Dafoe, Chad, as you all know, especially the Goblin and all that. Oh, misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen. I offer you friendship, and you spat in my face. I love stuff like that. But his relationship with Eggers has been great because he played that just crazy lighthouse keeper in the lighthouse, Hark and all that. He played like this weird jester wizard in the Northman, and now he's gonna be a crazy vampire. Oh my god, I can't wait! I am so excited for Nosferatu, chat. But I don't know if it can reach the hype of my final film, and that is Madam Web. Yes, chat, I'm actually excited for Madam Web, not because I think it's gonna be good. I think it looks awful. We all saw the trailer, chat. We have eyes. We're capable of sight as a species, and what we saw was like, that's not good. And I expect it to probably be terrible. Along with Kraven, I guess I'll throw Kraven the Hunter in here as well. He's a part of this. He's one of the 3 Sony Marvel movies coming out, along with Venom 3. But we already know what we're getting with Venom anyway. It's just more of the same. More of the same, chat. More awkward, funny voice Tom Hardy. But with this, I'm just like, yeah, this is just the continuing spiral down for Sony's live-action Spider-Man-less Spider-Man films. And that trailer, so many moments were so unintentionally funny. With Dakota Johnson just not giving a fuck at all as Madam Web, delivering some of the most stilted dialogue that I've seen a trailer in quite some time. But yeah, she's Madam Web, I guess, recruiting different spider people and spider women across, her apartment complex. Not the multiverse, her apartment complex. They just all happen to live there. They all have spider powers. What a coincidence. And they got to fight some guy named Ezekiel who's trying to stab a baby. A lot of baby stabbing recently. She's want to stab the baby. He wants to kill Peter Parker, Spider-Man, for some reason. I don't know. I think they're combining some stuff from Moreland, which I hate. I don't like that just era of Spider-Man. No, thank you. Keep that over there, please. It's in a corner where it's cold and better forgotten. But yeah, no, it looks terrible. But I'm looking forward to talking about this film, no doubt. I do like being a part of the conversation, sharing my opinion, having a nice back and forth with you guys. So we'll see. But yeah, Madam Web, that might be my most anticipated movie of next year. But what about you guys? I'm curious to hear from you. What are you guys most looking forward to in 2024? I'm still got to get through all my backlog of 2023, of course, but 2024, it looks like we have some pretty fun movies on the horizon. But go ahead and let me know. What about you? Let me see what you guys are saying. By the way, the edible's kicking in. I'm glad I was able to get through that, because I'm like, this thing's kicking in, and soon I'm not going to be making any sense. And hopefully I made sense what I was talking about, whatever it was.